Hey, Jamie here, and welcome to Module 2, Part 3, where we're going to be breaking down what is self-identity. And this follows the core beliefs and core values because, as you'll see, beliefs and values make up our identity. So again, if you have a journal or a pen, something to take notes or write down your thoughts or any questions as you're going through this, that way you can reflect on those after the content. So in this part 3, we're going to be understanding what is self-identity and why is it the strongest force that you have in your life, understanding what is self-evolution and the concept of future identity or who I'm becoming, and then understanding what is self-confidence, how can it be built, how can it be chosen, and how important self-confidence is in order to be successful or to achieve the dreams that we want for ourselves. So identity, the simplest way to think about it is it's how we perceive ourselves. So just like we talked about how core beliefs influence how we perceive reality and how we think about things, similarly, we think about ourselves and we have a sense of self-awareness. That's how we believe we are, our personal identity, but then also when we believe that we have a certain identity, a reputation, we act in accordance to that. So our beliefs and our values are what create our sense of self-identity. And the reason identity is so important is it is our beliefs and our values at the top of this diagram, which directly influence our mindset. So what we believe about ourselves and what we value is going to directly influence what we focus on and what we think about, which then affects our emotions and logic, which then affects the decisions that we make in our life, which ultimately leads to our behavior and our actions. And then ultimately that over a long period of time, our actions will determine our performance and results in life. So again, if identity is how we perceive ourselves, how did we form this identity? How did we learn what to think about ourselves? And the thing is that most people believe who they are today is who they've always been. But is that true? Have you ever stopped to think about who am I and who am I today? And am I the same person that I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Probably not, because change is inevitable. We always change in our lives, and circumstances will change our lives that we can't predict. So when we're born, we have absolutely no sense of self. We don't know who we are. We don't know what to think. We don't know what to believe or value or anything. But similarly, our sense of self is conditioned into us, usually as kids, again. So if you're someone who's funny growing up and you learn that, okay, I'm associating good pleasure to being funny and I believe that if I'm funny then I'll be accepted, well, usually that person will continue being funny throughout the rest of their life. They see themselves as funny and they believe later on that I am a funny, outgoing, or personable person. And then as a counterexample, someone who's very shy, and let's say that something bad happens and they humiliate themselves sometime when they're a kid and then they stop talking, or they don't want to voice their opinion because they've learned that it's actually safer and more secure to just be quiet than to say it and possibly be humiliated again. So over time, that person conditions themselves and believes that they are a quiet person. I am quiet, I am timid, etc. So all of our experiences growing up, especially with our family, our friends, teachers, community, education, sports, anything else you're affiliated with, how we grow up and the experiences that we have massively influence how we perceive ourselves. And that ends up leading to and conditioning core operating beliefs, our values, as well as our sense of self, because that's really all our sense of self is. Our identity is our beliefs and our values. So the tricky part is that a lot of people believe who they are today is inflexible. They can't change. And that's because so often we hear either on social media or in podcasts or anywhere else where people's like, be true to yourself, be your authentic self. Don't try to be someone that you're not. But the biggest question is when did we define ourselves? When did you define yourself? When did you sit down one day and say, I am so-and-so and I'm not so-and-so? Most people don't have a specific day when they define themselves. And because of that, most people are tricked or really conditioned into believing that who they are today, they can't change. And the toughest part, the reason this is such a big problem, is people set goals or dreams or envision themselves hopefully doing something, and in their mind, what's happening is they're seeing this really big, incredibly difficult goal, and they're comparing that goal to the person that they are today and asking themselves whether or not this person can achieve that goal. But they're comparing apples to oranges. That goal could be 5 years in the future, and who you are today is not yet the person who can achieve that, because you haven't done the personal development. You haven't built an indomitable mindset yet. You haven't taken the action necessary in order to achieve that goal yet. And so without most people even knowing it, they're limiting themselves in their own life because they believe that they can't change. And they believe that who I am today is who I will always be. And that's not true. It's a belief. And it's a very limiting belief in certain cases, because some people aren't happy with who they are, or some people aren't happy with their lives. Now, by all means, if you absolutely love everything in your life right now and you don't want anything to change, by all means, don't change. But if there are goals that you know you can't achieve right now, but you want to achieve them, or things that you want in your life that you don't have right now, you can have them. There's no reason that you can't have them. But the thing is who you are today is most likely not yet the person who can have them, or who can achieve that goal. And there's nothing wrong with that, because when you were 10 years old, you were not the person who was going to, pass the classes when you were graduating in college or something. So age is directly in proportion to the experiences that we have in life. And the sooner we have experiences, the sooner we develop ourselves, we become someone more. And when we become someone more, then we're able to do more. So never ever think that who you are today can't change and that there are goals that are too big for you. It's just who you are today is not yet the person who can achieve those things. And you can change. So identity is the strongest force in our lives, because people will always act in alignment with who they believe that they are. Someone who thinks they're funny will act funny. Someone who believes that they're an introvert and shy and timid and quiet will always act that way. And someone who believes that they're timid and shy, if they're ever in an environment where they do open up, they feel uncomfortable, because they're in their head, they're saying, this is not me. This is not what I do. So identity can be a very negative influence in terms of helping us get to our goals if it's not in alignment with who we need to become in order to achieve those goals. So if you wish to change your future, you must start by changing yourself. And in order to change yourself, again, it starts with mindset. It starts with our beliefs, it starts with our values, and then conditioning those into us, as well as deciding, who must I become in order to achieve my future, in order to achieve my goals. So you're going to decide and condition new empowering beliefs and values, which is what we talked about in parts 1 and 2, and that will influence your sense of self, because you will feel different. You will you'll think differently. And again, thinking through that diagram, you have purpose, beliefs, and values at the top. Well, if your identity is beliefs and values, and that is your identity, that's going to influence your mindset, which is then going to influence what you focus on and what you think about, which is going to influence your emotions and logic, which is going to influence the decisions, actions, and behaviors that you have. And over the long term, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, you can massively change your life based on identity. So the question that you want to be asking yourself is not, who am I? Because who you are today is going to be different than who you are tomorrow, or a week from now, or 2 weeks from now, a month from now. Instead, what you want to be focusing on is, who am I becoming? Because that's what you're working towards. That's what every single day when you wake up, you get out of bed, you go through your morning routine, you work out, you prep your mind, and then you go and you take action that day, either in your work or on personal development or something. Every day, you can't stop time. You can't stop your day from happening. But the question is what are you doing in that day, and how is it changing your life? So you always want to have a point in time, which is really your goals, and asking, who am I becoming? And that person must be capable of achieving those goals. That's how you know what to focus on. So your current self is, I am so-and-so. Your future self is who you need to become. And in the future, let's say even 3 years from now, if you were to compare who you are 3 years from now to who you are today, hopefully it's different. And hopefully it's better. That's the thing, is if you are 12 months from now in the future and you stop and ask yourself, am I the same man or woman that I was 12 months ago? You haven't grown. You haven't developed yourself. You haven't advanced your life. You haven't done more. You haven't become more. You haven't been able to influence or work with or help or contribute to more people or do more in the economy or do more in your family life. So we always want to become more because that's growth. We live for growth. That's the juice in life. So we need to design, create, and build that person in the future who is capable, who will achieve our greatest dreams. Because the reason we have to design them is, and the metaphor I love to use for this is it's similar to building a house. Before anybody builds a custom house, the very first thing that they do is they kind of put together a dream board. And they think through, oh, well, I really like this and I really like that. Ooh, I like that entrance. I like that side. I love that porch. And then they kind of like put together their vision for what they want this thing to look like. And then once they have the vision, then they actually start thinking through the plans. All right, how are we specifically going to put this house together? Once they have that, then they have the blueprints. Once they have the blueprints, they do the interior design. And they think through, all right, how do we want to lay everything out? Once they've gone through the design, then they actually start buying the material and building the house. They never start building the house until they actually have the vision for it and the design for it. And in order to become the person who can build the house, you got to learn how to build. And you're going to have to learn how to do design. And you're going to have to learn how to do these things in order to build the house. So similar to you, you're going to have goals in your life or want things in the future that you don't know how to do yet. And that's okay, because you're not yet the person who knows how to do them. But you'll become the person who knows how to do them. You will do the personal development. You're going to learn the skills or knowledge or build the experiences that you need in order to be that person who can do it. So never forget that. The question is not, who am I? The question is, who am I becoming? Because that will empower you. That will motivate you to continuously take action day after day in order to become that person. So some things that you're going to want to think through, and I'll show you the worksheet here shortly on thinking through who am I becoming, but beliefs and values. And again, we talked about that in part 1 and part 2, but destroying limiting beliefs and choosing empowering beliefs will influence every part of your life going forward, as well as your values. Having those value hierarchies, those restructured hierarchies, that's going to be a strategy, a framework that will help guide you to make thoughtful decisions both in your career and in your life. And it's important that the life and the career are taken care of. If you only have one or only have the opposite, sometimes some people split their lives between careers and lives, and then one of them goes under, and you can't have that. So that's when you need the values. But then also thinking about who you need to become in the future. What skills have you developed? What have you learned how to do? Additional knowledge. What other areas outside of your current domain or current expertise have you learned? Because you're going to need to cross-pollinate knowledge again. Personality. What are your characteristics? What are you known for? What do other people think about you? And personality could also be, if you're very shy right now, do you need to become more outgoing? Or if you're very outgoing, do you need to become more reflective and more self-aware? Habits. What habits do you have in your life? This could be morning routines. These could be evening routines. These could be habits for health and fitness. These could be habits for career or work or for personal development. Habits that would make you a better person. Appearance. What do you look like? What's your health? What's your fitness? What's your style? Do you dress differently? What's your haircut? What's your facial hair? Literally think of it almost like a video game. Like you're kind of creating this person in the future, and you're going to be actively working towards becoming that person. And it's exciting to think through, I can become anything I want. I can become anyone I want. And you can. There's no reason that you can't. The only person stopping you from becoming who you want to become is yourself. And the biggest reason why people don't is they say, that's not me. That's not who I am. But again, when did you define yourself? So, reputation is another thing that you're going to want to think through. So, kind of picture this person in the future, your future self, and ask yourself, what do I want this person to be known for? How do I want my friends to think about me? How do I want my family to think about me? How do I want my colleagues or other people to think about me? That's the reputation. And by taking specific actions over the long term in the future, you will begin to create this reputation. But it has to be built. And then achievements. What has this person in the future achieved? And mentors. Who does this person in the future look up to? Who does this person in the future learn from? Who does this person in the future absorb in terms of the content, the ideas, the strategies, and the mindsets of specific people? And usually these are industry leaders or people who have already achieved the goals that this person, that your future self wants to achieve. And we'll talk a lot about that in Module 3, Strategic Planning. So, if you stay the same, it's not that staying the same is bad or good. It's just the way you want to think about it is, if I stay the same person I am today, I will only get more of what I already have. So as a very simple example, or a monetary example, if you are someone who's currently making, let's say, 60 grand a year, if you do nothing to improve yourself, if you do nothing to change, you're still going to be the same person worth making $60,000 a year next year, because you haven't improved your skills, your knowledge, your experience. Now that's just a tangible economic value example, but also in terms of appearance, in terms of health, in terms of fitness, nutrition, also in terms of reputation. Who you are today, if you don't change, you're going to be the same in 12 months, and you'll just get more of what you already have. Your future self is the person who will achieve your life dreams. If you were already the person who could achieve your life dreams, you would have already achieved them. You'd already have those dreams in your life right now. And I hope this doesn't dissuade you, or I hope this doesn't demotivate you. I hope it does the exact opposite. I hope it motivates you, because so many people are demotivated when they hear that they're not yet the person who's capable of doing these things. But that's the whole point, is we were never born the person that was capable of doing things. And what you're capable of doing right now, I guarantee you could not do probably 5 or 10 years ago. You had to become the person who could do what you do today. And so instead, what we want to do is we want to dream big and say, what do we want? What do we want for ourselves, for our lives, for our families, for our friends, for our careers? And we set those in stone, and then we become the person who's capable of achieving that. So in order to cross that bridge from who we are today and become the person in the future who's capable of achieving our life dreams, we need to build the new mindset, and we have to focus on strategic personal development, which is really what we've covered here in modules 1 and 2. So again, beliefs and values are our identity. When we influence our identity, when we change for the better, when we improve who we are becoming, that will directly influence our performance and results, which is really our life. That is how we change our lives. We change our lives by starting with our mindset, by starting with how we view ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, and influencing who we're becoming in the future. So that leads then to self-confidence, because this is the biggest stick that a lot of people have, where they say, well, that's all great and all, and I want to become that person, but I can't because I'm not that person. That's self-doubt. And self-doubt is a choice. Self-doubt's an emotion. And again, if we go back to this slide, if self-doubt is an emotion, that emotion is created because you're focusing on and thinking about something. And you're focusing on whether you can or can't, and you're thinking that I can't because I'm not. And that's what's leading to self-doubt. So, self-confidence, what is it? It's a feeling. Self-confidence, going back to the slide again, self-confidence is an emotion. It's a belief in yourself that leads to you're feeling motivated, that I can do something. So, when we have a lack of self-confidence, that's coming from self-doubt. If we don't have self-confidence, we have self-doubt. They're polar opposites. And self-doubt is a limiting belief that I am not enough. And self-doubt is really nothing more than a protection mechanism that our brain is using to stop us from experiencing pain. Because when we doubt ourselves, we're not going to take action. And if we don't take action, then we can't be rejected. We can't fail. We can't be humiliated. We can't be embarrassed. So really, whenever we doubt ourselves, all we're trying to do is protect ourselves from looking stupid in front of other people, or from being negatively judged by other people, or from letting ourselves down. And so we can't have that. That is a choice. So self-doubt is really nothing more than fear. We're afraid of something. We're afraid of a bad outcome. We're afraid of being negatively judged by other people or looking stupid. And we can't fear pain. We cannot fear failure or rejection or judgment or losing. Because if we do, we cannot achieve our goals or become the person that we need to become if we fear these things. And I'll talk about the difference of fear and courage, but many of the people that we look up to, a lot of the people who are leading industries, or even leading business or politics or sports, all these industry leaders that we all go, wow, how did they get there? All of those people were afraid, but they had the courage, and courage is nothing more than I am afraid, but I'm still going to take action. And so we need to take action through the pain, through the failure, through the rejection, through the judgment, and through the losing. That's how we become who we must become. So if we wanted to feel 100% self-confident without any of these things, without pain, failure, rejection, judgment, or losing, the only way to do that is to hide in a corner for your entire life with a blanket over your head. And you could be 100% self-confident in that corner, but that's no way to live. You'd be miserable. You'd be unhappy, sad, lonely, depressed, all the negative emotions that would come with that. So instead, if everything was safe, easy, and given, you wouldn't value it. There's a reason that so many spoiled kids end up as unhappy adults. And it's because that they never learned the value of hard work, the value of struggle. Without struggle, there is no achievement. There's no overcoming. There's no prevailing. When everything is easy, there's no contrast. Without happiness, you can't know happiness without sadness. And it's the exact same way in achievement. You can't really feel value or achievement if you've never felt loss or failure. And so we need these things. As crazy as that sounds, we need pain, we need failure, we need rejection and negative judgment and losing. Because otherwise we wouldn't actually be happy with anything. But a lot of people allow their fear here to dominate their choices when they confront these different negative emotions. So, self-confidence is nothing more than having positive, empowering beliefs about yourself and having the courage to take action even though you're afraid. There's a lot of self-confident people who are always afraid of looking bad, afraid of being negatively judged by others, afraid of failure, but they don't let that stop them. They do it anyways because they believe I am good enough, I can do this, I've done it before, I know I can do it again. So, self-confidence is trusting yourself. It's also believing in yourself. It's knowing your purpose and why you're doing something and knowing the goal or the outcome that you're focused on. And self-confidence is self-improvement and progress. When you make progress, you will feel good about yourself because you know I'm doing it. And when you know that you're doing it and you know that you're making progress, you begin trusting yourself more and you start believing in yourself more. Self-confidence is really self-trust and self-belief. So, it's a feeling that you can turn on instantly because, as we talked about in part 1, beliefs are a choice. They're a choice. Now, many of them are conditioned into us, but we can choose to destroy them and we can choose to condition new empowering beliefs. So self-confidence is you can choose to believe in yourself and you can choose to have courage, which are the two variables in the equation, self-belief and courage. And you can choose to pursue your goals and if you do those three, you believe in yourself, have courage, and pursue your goals, you will make progress. And by default, you will always build self-confidence. And finally, self-confidence is a lifelong pursuit of self-improvement, achievement, and holding integrity to yourself. And that's really upholding your standards, your values, and your beliefs. And so a simple example where I see all the time of people eroding, and I struggled with this too. And it's been a constant focus in order to overcome it. And it's something I still work on every day, consistently getting better. But everyone struggles with this. And one of the first questions that I always ask when I work with someone is, did you wake up today at the first alarm? And the reason that's such an important question is we set that alarm for a reason. The night before, we told ourselves, I will wake up at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. rolls around, and what a lot of people do is that alarm goes off, they roll over, they immediately press snooze. What they've just done is they've lied to themselves. Or they've debated, where they were in bed and debating with themselves, do I want to get up, do I not want to get up? Do I want to get up, do I not want to get up? And that's them not trusting themselves. They're destroying self-trust. And we do that all the time in our careers, in our lives, in our relationships, especially with one's words. Someone says they'll do something and then they back out of it, or they don't do it. Or someone tells themselves, and that's even worse when you lie to yourself, because you're the easiest one to lie to. You're the easiest one to trick. So if you say that you're going to do something, it's building the self-belief that I will do this, and conditioning that over and over and over again. So I really, starting now that you've heard this, I challenge you, when you wake up, don't click snooze. Get up. Don't lie to yourself. Don't debate with yourself. You got to end the self-debate. And the moment you know, and you've built the self-trust over a period of time because you've consistently followed what you told yourself you'd do, you've upheld your standards, when you have that deep self-trust in yourself, you will be blown away at the skies open up and you start seeing goals as absolutely achievable. Because you know that if I put my mind to something, I'll do it. If I tell myself I'll do something, you know you're going to do it. Very few people have that mindset. A lot of people call it discipline. It's really self-trust and self-belief. Believing that if I say something, I'll do it. So then that leads us to the debate between confidence and competence. So which of these comes first? Do you believe that confidence comes first and you need confidence in order to become competent at something? Or do you believe that competence comes first and from being competent in something, someone becomes confident? Most of the schools, most colleges, and most people in their careers believe that competence must come first. Only through competence will we eventually feel confident in something. But it's actually the opposite. It's the other way around. If you want to achieve your personal greatest achievement, your personal greatest abilities, because we will never be confident or we will never be competent at something new. And this is where a lot of people get trapped in their lives and in their careers. They believe that, well, I've never done this before, so I don't want to do it because then I'll look bad, or I'll be negatively judged by other people, or I'll look stupid if I screw it up. And so because of that, many adults will not try new things. Many adults will not take new risks. They won't jump into new hobbies because they don't want to look dumb, because they've never done it before. But when you think about kids, like think of someone who's 5 years old. At 5 years old, you don't really care what other people think about you. Instead, you just want to have fun. You're willing to try anything. And if you try something you don't like, you say, all right, screw that. I'm moving on to something else. And I think one of the clearest examples is there was someone that I was working with who was in their late 20s. And to most people, this would sound wild, but she didn't know how to ride a bike. And she had never learned or been taught how to ride a bike. And that was partially because of her culture and her past. But when I asked, well, have you tried? She said, well, I did once or twice. And then I just, a group of kids walked by and I just decided I wouldn't do it again. And I told her, you have to. You have to go back and you have to get on that bike. Because it's not just about riding a bike. It's about believing in yourself in new areas that you haven't tried before as an adult. Because confidence is pervasive. You bring confidence to brand new experiences, to new skills, to new endeavor, to new companies, to new career paths. And if you don't bring that confidence and you just expect that, well, I won't try something unless I'm competent, you will not become competent unless you try. And the only way to try is to have the confidence. So confidence always comes first. Confidence is a choice. Confidence is self-belief and self-trust. When you're confident, you will try new things. You'll have the mindset to overcome failure. You'll try again and again and again. You'll get better. And as you continuously try over and over again, you will eventually become competent. So never be fooled when someone says, oh, well, I'm not good at that. That's a lack of self-confidence, not because of a lack of that's a lack of self-confidence, and it's not because of a lack of competence. So self-confidence is the greatest competitive advantage that you can bring to the marketplace. As we talked about in part 1, creativity is the most valuable thing that you can bring to the marketplace. But in terms of what your competitive advantage is, self-confidence is the greatest competitive advantage, because when you are self-confident, the law of attraction and abundance will apply to you. Now, I'm careful when I say the law of attraction and abundance, because a lot of people have, they think it's foo-foo-y and soft and mushy, and they're like, all right, whatever, law of attraction. The thing is the reason it's called law of attraction is solely because of self-confidence. So when you are confident enough to try something, a lot of people are not going to look at you. No one will pay attention to you when you first start out at something, because you're not good at it. You've never done it before. You're not yet competent. But when you have the confidence to try something new and you get better at it and you make progress and you consistently get better and make more progress and get better and make more progress, overcome failure, and then try again and then make progress and get better and keep going, eventually you'll hit a point where other people start turning heads and other people start realizing, who's that? Wow, look at them. Look at the progress that they've made. All of a sudden, people start paying attention to you. And they're not paying attention to you because randomly they decided to pay attention to you. They're paying attention to you because you're now making progress. When you have the confidence to try new things, get better at it, and then make progress, other people will start paying more attention to you, and people and resources will be attracted to you because they believe in you. And they believe in you because you believed in yourself first. And they also believe in you because they can tangibly see your progress. People will never believe, or very few people believe in other people when there's nothing to see. There's no proof. There's no evidence. But when you believe in yourself, you're the one that takes action first. You make that progress, and all of a sudden other people have something to believe in. And that something is you. So when you will believe in yourself, you will cause other people to believe in you as well. So I want to bring up the worksheet that you're going to be working through in order to define who am I becoming. So first part is, and you can see I've listed out prompts here for you to think through. And so I want to quickly read through these with you. So the first one, describe the person you must become in order to achieve the future you desire for yourself. Describe what will happen if you don't work towards and become this future self, and instead you choose to remain the exact same as you are today. What negative beliefs, excuses, worries, and fears is your future self free from that your current self is not? What weaknesses has your future self conquered and overcome? What skills, knowledge, and strengths does your future self have for achieving your life and career dreams? What personality traits, qualities, and characteristics does your future self have? What positive and empowering habits and behaviors does your future self have? What negative and harmful habits and behaviors is your future self free from that your current self has or is not free from? And what does your future self look like? Describe your health, your fitness, your appearance, and self-presentation or presence in the world. So even style. I mean, how do you dress? What reputation does your future self have? What do others say about you? And how are you known and referred to by other people? What important achievements has your future self accomplished, both personally and professionally? Describe in detail the mindset, the philosophies, and the perspectives that your future self has. And describe what gives your future self immense feelings of fulfillment and happiness. So, this is the third worksheet for Module 2, Mindset Transformation. And that brings us to the end of Module 2. So again, Part 1 was beliefs, core beliefs. Part 2 was values. And this third part was self-identity. So in Module 3, we're going to start diving into strategic planning, which is thinking through and mapping out and really designing the life and the career that you want to live. So go ahead, get to work on this worksheet, and I'll see you in Module 3.